This indoor swimming pool is a central feature of a Saudi Arabian terrorist rehabilitation center. It serves as the primary icon of the kingdom's soft approach to counterterrorism, presented to the world as a revolutionary success in reform. For years, the state publicized these resort-like environments, building a narrative around religious counseling and luxury. This image, however, provides a partial view of history, focusing on the televised carrot while obscuring the reality of the stick. To actually dismantle al-Qaeda's infrastructure, the Saudi state relied on an incredibly harsh, highly classified counterterrorism policy that operated far from the cameras. These famous facilities were never the front line of the war. They were the final, polished stage for the few who survived a much more ruthless process. The true architecture of the Saudi campaign was managed by the Mabahith, the state's powerful secret police. Before reaching a rehab center, thousands of suspects were processed through high-security facilities like Al-Hayr. Detainees were held in these cells for years without access to lawyers or formal trials. Prisoners faced years of brutal interrogations within these walls, a stark contrast to the art therapy and pools of the public-facing programs. Outside the prisons, the state applied pressure by freezing the bank accounts of fugitives and taking their family members hostage to force surrenders. In cases where militants refused to yield, the policy shifted to direct elimination, resulting in violent encounters and extrajudicial killings in the streets. Rehabilitation was a privilege granted only to those who had already been broken by this gauntlet of state pressure. The Saudi state labeled al-Qaeda militants as Kharijites, violent deviants abandoning the faith. Al-Qaeda, however, viewed a Saudi royal family as apostates and Western puppets, believing the government forfeited its legitimacy by acting as an American proxy. To the militants, the rehab centers were a joint U.S.-Saudi psychological operation, where state-sanctioned scholars were used to systematically brainwash those in custody. This presence of foreign military assets, like the U.S. Air Force plane seen here, was the primary target. Al-Qaeda's first goal was the total eviction of Western forces from what they considered the Holy Land. Their second objective was economic sabotage, specifically attacking Western oil infrastructure and residential compounds. They aimed to cripple the kingdom's financial foundation and weaken the Al Saud family's grip on power. This was an active, well-defined insurgency that used religious rhetoric to justify a very physical war against the state's economic and military pillars. The insurgency relied on massive vehicle-borne explosives to hit these high-value targets in cities like Riyadh. These were not small surgical devices, but massive bombs designed for maximum destruction. Al-Qaeda leadership claimed these were precision strikes, explicitly stating they had no intention of killing ordinary Muslims or local pedestrians. The actual results, as seen in the rubble of this building, contradicted those claims. The sheer explosive yield of these devices caused catastrophic and indiscriminate damage to the surrounding urban environment. This wreckage became a common sight for everyday citizens. The collateral damage of these attacks included the deaths of countless Muslim security guards, bystanders, and residents who were caught in the blast zones. The visual of dead Muslim civilians in the streets of the kingdom stripped the insurgency of its religious cover. This loss of domestic standing gave the Saudi state the necessary mandate to escalate its shadow war and move to fully eliminate the al-Qaeda network. Ultimately, the luxury rehabilitation model was more of a televised result than a strategic cause. It was the public face of a victory won through a brutal, unforgiving campaign of state power.